Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Codependent Content, the podcast where we talk about the unhealthy relationship we have with television shows, movies, books, video games, whatever it is that we are consuming at the moment. My name is Matthias, and I'm going to be your host for today's episode. It's been a while, I know, and we're doing something a little bit differently. I'm going to be going it alone. This is interesting for me because I'm not really used to talking by myself to the camera, to no one, essentially. But here we are. I'm in my room. I've got an ominous black box behind me, the TV that is a stand-in for the content, I guess. But I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, today, what are we doing today? Today, we're going to be returning to the Star Wars universe, galaxy, as it were. And we're going to be talking about Skeleton Crew, episodes 1 and 2. I'm going to, for the sake of this podcast, keeping it short, keeping it simple, we're going to combine both episodes basically into one thing. I'm not going to try and remember exactly what came in what episode or whatever. That'll be up to you. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Hey, how's it going? Welcome back. I don't like doing so much ados and side things or whatever. If you're here, you're here. If you're not, you're not. And that's all that really matters. So at the end of the day, I'm just going to release this and we can talk about it later. So why don't we just jump right into it? Skeleton Crew. Initial thoughts. The reason I'm resurrecting, so to speak, this podcast is because I really enjoyed this first episode. First 2 episodes of Skeleton Crew. I think the kids are amazingly charming. I think they're doing really well. I think I'm transported back to childhood days. I think I'm overall just impressed with everything that's going on visually. The action's really fun. The adventure is great. It's there. I'm loving the kind of mysteries about it, and this is so far a good start to what I hope Star Wars will continue to do. It feels like it's in the Star Wars universe. It also feels like it's not. I understand it's going with some very nostalgia baity things, you know, if you're a child of the 80s, if you grew up with the Goonies or E.T., anything of that nature. Think Amblin Entertainment, even as recently as like anything J.J. Abrams did with Super 8 or the recent Star Wars, you kind of get an idea of what you're getting here. And honestly, it's not that bad. You know, I'm not as I guess beholden to the 80s content as most other people. I am very much a like 90s kid, more so than an 80s, even though I was born in the 80s. I grew up in the 90s. That's where most of my content comes from. I noticed that a lot of the things that I was inspired by, a lot of the children's content that I grew up on came from like the 90s, especially 93 and on, you know, think Jurassic Park, so on and so forth. But Star Wars obviously is the first love. It is the thing that shaped me more than anything. And what I love about this is that it has that sense of adventure and that sense of hope and excitement and just like growing up, whatever it is that you get with Star Wars, I just love it. I'm getting that feeling of it. I was worried. I was really worried. Because as much as I think John Watts did an okay job with the Spider-Man movies, especially the first one, I wasn't really that impressed with what he did overall with Spider-Man. That might just be Marvel fatigue, superhero fatigue. That might just be whatever it is going on with me and, you know, how I feel about Marvel in general and how they kind of handled Spider-Man like later on, but there were some fun moments of it, but it wasn't something that was super impressive. It wasn't something that I was like, oh, like this guy should go do Star Wars or whatever. It didn't feel as unique, or I guess if things felt safe. I don't know. So I was like, I don't want him. I didn't see it with Star Wars. And to be fair, I think he has set up a really, really cool story, really cool universe. But there is a lot of like borrowing from other properties. There are a lot of things here that you haven't, that you have seen before. It's not a whole lot of new things, and we'll get more into that. What I will say is, going back to my rant about, is this inspired from the 80s? Those kind of nostalgia trips. That's really clearly there. And I think why I am excited about it so much, or why I don't mind it so much, is because if you know me, I am a big fan of Peter Pan, Treasure Island, those properties, which I feel like this heavily borrows from both of those. I mean, you have a robot, which someone else pointed this out. I didn't catch it the first time. I feel kind of stupid for it. A robot SM-33, which means Smee. You got kids going off to a fair land. You got one kid literally spelling out like "grow up" at the beginning of or midway through the first episode. This is about growing up. This is about adventure. This is going to the stars. This is interesting. And then you have, let's just say it, Treasure Planet, the treasure island of it all, with the pirates and the captains and the kids that just want adventure, and they run into, again, we'll get into this, an old, I guess, for now we can call him some sort of force sensitive guy. He's not, but you got Captain Silvo at the beginning. Long John Silver, anyone? I'm not gonna I don't think I'm saying anything really new or groundbreaking here. It's just very much like in the vein of whatever he's doing. John Watts is pulling from safe properties, things that really have spoken to me, having grown up, and things that I really, really enjoy as a kid, and especially love that these kids seem to be having a lot of fun. I love a good pirate adventure story. And so, you know what? He did well. He did good. Is there anything new? Probably not. But who cares, I guess? If you're going to borrow from something, and if you're going to tell a children's story, which they have said this is not a children's story. It's not made for kids, even though it stars kids. They want adults to enjoy it as well. I mean, Color Me enjoyed, but I also feel like it's still kind of made for kids, I think. Yeah, anyway, point is I'm enjoying it. John Watts, hit or miss for me as a director, but he's done good. And especially David Lowery, who is one of my favorite directors. He's done other good kids properties, including Pete's Dragon, another Peter Pan remake, with Jude Law. Speaking of which, as Captain Hook. So you have a John Watts being able to, he did the first episode. There's some good things there. I think the majority of the good stuff comes in the second episode. I'm just going to be completely honest. And I think John Watts being able to take a step back, give David Lowery the reins, let him take it, and let other directors take it too. I know the Daniels are directors on another episode. I think probably the episode 3. I don't know. I think it's coming out soon. I think him taking a step back, allowing other directors to take it. Maybe he's just a good ideas guy or whatever. I think they're elevating it, and I love it. I'm really loving it. Let's talk about these kids. These kids, you know, they feel like real kids. There's not they're not being written as adults. These kids are clearly having fun. Now they are in a world that's nostalgic for Star Wars in the same way that we are nostalgic for Star Wars, which is something that I'm not sure how to feel about it. It seems a little bit meta. And they clearly live in this 80s inspired suburban Americana world. But that, as we get on through the episodes, we'd learn that that's something's going on with this world. I don't think we're supposed to be led to believe that this is normal in the Star Wars universe. And I think the visual thing of them being stuck, the current theories about them being stuck in the current theories about this being maybe an old Republic era thing, even though the Republic is mentioned, it's never mentioned as the New Republic, and that this is at least something from an Empire era planet, whatever is going on here. Everyone here is stuck in the past. I mean, you see the Whim give the credits to pay for the food at the pirate asteroid, and they're like, where did you get these? These are mint condition. These are really old. This doesn't make any sense, right? They're almost brand new looking credits, but they're from the Old Republic. These kids, so the visuals of them being in the 80s inspired, whatever, that they're clearly stuck in the past. That's there's a point there, I'm sure. Not sure if it's a good point, but hey, it is what it is. So for those of you who are like, get your 80s American suburban whatever out of my Star Wars, there seems to be a point. Whatever that point is, I don't know. But maybe we'll get to learn more about it, and especially what was going on here and if it affects the remainder of the Star Wars universe. I love these kids. I love these kids so much that I'm pretty sure, forgive me if I'm wrong, this seems to take place after Return of the Jedi, before The Force Awakens. There is every chance, I don't know when exactly it takes place. Is it, before The Mandalorian? Is it after? I don't know. There's every chance that we can see these kids again grown up in a new, movies or whatever. It's very, not that we need to right now, but I already love these kids so much and their personalities and like where they want to be and what their goals are, and just kind of who they are on a ground level. Like that's, I would love to see them grow up. I would love to see who these characters grow up to become, Whim, clearly being our like adventure seeking, he wants to get off of this planet, wants to protect people, that kind of thing. He's kind of your closest thing to like a Luke Skywalker. I mean, when we first are introduced to Whim, the shot of his bed is clearly meant to resemble like a shot of Tatooine, a shot of like a sand desert planet before it like pans up into, him playing with the action figures as a kid. There's a Luke Skywalker quality to him, He's stuck on a backwards planet in his own way, and he doesn't necessarily want to be there. He doesn't want to necessarily participate in the rest of whatever this world's doing, which is what they call the great work. But that makes sense. I mean, we do see that Wim has been told stories, and we know the power of stories. We know the power of these tales of good and evil, and of protection, and saving those and loving those who are close to you. And that, I think, is what he wants. Is he wants to experience that. And this seems to be, everyone else wants to be an analyst or a coordinator or some sort of computational whatever. Like, these are very boring jobs. Let's just say it. So we get it. That's a clear indication of like who Wim's, and he's very impulsive. He does a lot of things. I love it. I love that he doesn't think about what he's going to do before he does it. He just tries it and then sees what happens. There's something about like some children's stories or child actors where they're way too hesitant. We get too much like caution, whatever. It's like he just does it. I was like, we're spending too much time trying to have the kids, not do the thing that we want them to do. Is like, just do it. And I love that. He's like, for me, he's the perpetual, let's move the plot forward. When he presses that button, it's like, let's just move the plot forward. We don't need to waste our time here. So he's doing the work, at least for us, for me. And I love it. I was like, yeah, just get started. Let's just do this, And I love that. Fern is definitely a close second. Loving Fern, loving her attitude. I think what I love more is that her need an idea for adventure or whatever. There's clearly something, there's an idea that she's smart. She's smart, but she doesn't want to be. She is talented, but she doesn't really care about it, and she could be whatever she wants to be. And she's top of her class, whatever that may mean. And there's a clear pressure from her mother that shows where she's coming from in terms. It's not just like she doesn't like this life. She has fun. She has these sort of ventures. I think she's enjoying being kind of top dog in her own way. But there's a moment where she's gazing just out. Gazing out of that garage. They do call it a garage, so I guess we can call it a garage. They also call the rat a rat later on, and that's not a rat, but I guess we'll just go with rat. But anyway, she's gazing out the garage, and she's just lost. She's daydreaming, whatever it is. And you kind of get a sense of like who she is at that moment, or who she is really, not who she presents herself to be, that there is often the way that she presents herself. There is something, there are these clear indications that she's going to come up with, like all the lies that she comes with, the stories that she tells, she has a great imagination. And one of these days it's probably gonna come back to hurt her. But she has to learn to be vulnerable and just be who she is and embrace, I guess, who she is in that sense. Hi, Ariel. Anyway, this is my co-host. KB and Neil, not, fun characters. Let's just say, these are the kids, the comic relief. You got the rule followers in kind of both of them. You got the mechanic, smart one. They're both smart. They're very much like it. You got two duos of characters here that are very much like the same duos. In Wim and Neil, Fern and KB, they're learning things through each other, probably. And I don't I don't know that we get enough of Neil or KB. Yeah, I feel like they're differentiated enough. I get an idea. One's more scared than the other one. They may be both smart, but um, you know, one is definitely like comic relief in Neil, and then KB has her own way of like silently just kind of uh, um, chiming in. She's like the rational. There's a really good podcast, House of R, where Joanna and Mallory go over like the golden trio, and you got the id and the ego and the super ego, and I don't remember which one would be, but there's clearly like, this is a group of four, and I think that in some ways, Neil and KB kind of combined to be like the third. If you got the id, ego, super ego. I should have researched, but that's not who I am. I know you're not paying attention to me because the cat's here, but that's okay. We're still trying. What else? So yeah, love the kids. And I think it's great. I think they're doing a fantastic job. They have a lot of pressure on them. If you're out there and you're a fan of this podcast and you are a fan of the show, especially if you were a fan of The Acolyte, which we can talk about later, but I think we need protect these kids at all costs. These are kids. They are doing a fantastic job. They don't feel like they're acting. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They're being kids. They're having fun. I'm loving it. I think there's an earnestness and the thing that comes across into the performance that I latch onto, and I find that I am very much, I'm a fan. There wasn't anything cringeworthy. There wasn't anything that was like, cheesy or I guess predictable in that way. There's some predictable things, but we'll get to it. And it just felt like classic kid stuff. But also like not like too on the nose. You kind of get a sense that they are allowed to like play and have fun. And I think, great. Welcome to the Star Wars universe. You guys are doing amazing. I would love to be in your shoes. I love them. Let's protect them. Okay. Let's move on. Let's talk about, again, a little bit more about the planet that they're on. Clearly something's going on what is it? At Atla? No. Again, I should have wrote notes, but I'm very, very bad at this. Here's what I'll say. It is no mistake that the safety droids are made to look like surveillance cameras. Their heads are basically just a surveillance camera that you would see outside of a store, just slapped onto a body. That's it. It's just a security camera, and you don't need on a planet that's safe and fine, and everyone's kind of doing the great work or whatever. You don't need security like that. We haven't seen that in Star Wars, so to speak, unless you talk about prisons or when the Empire had soldiers there. But even though they used people, so I don't even know if this is the Empire because they used stormtroopers a lot, and they're very much the Empire loves their identity. Unless this is some weird experiment that I don't know what it would be, then this is very much like there's something else nefarious going on here, and I don't know what it would be, but there's some sort of surveillance. And what would you need to surveil? What would you need to keep an eye on? I don't know. And unfortunately, we don't get much there. We don't get much clear indication of why is there a barrier around this planet? What does it mean people can't come or go? How long has these kids haven't seen stars before? They're kind of confused. What do they really know about the Jedi? How long has it been? Do they even know that there was an empire that Luke Skywalker helped to destroy that empire? Like, this is what these kids know and don't know is very vague. And I think that's on purpose. And what we're supposed to know is very vague. And just the fact that the planet is considered a myth or legend and doesn't really exist. Droid doesn't know it. Smee doesn't know it exists. Just what's going on? You know, what is happening? They're not being subtle about this. So I think you're supposed to assume there's weird things going on. It's too nice, you know? It's too perfect. Can we have that in Star Wars? Sure. I don't know. We haven't seen planets we haven't seen any utopian planets before. I'm sure there have been planets like this, but this feels different. So no mistake. If you're getting a weird vibe, it's because it's supposed to be there. What is the great work? Who knows? What is this ambassador, counselor? Who knows? I'm sure we'll have things we can theorize about that later. Someone else can tell me if there's already some theories. I don't know. We don't spend long on this planet. We are going to leave this planet when we discover the ship, and we go off on an adventure. This is, again, when we get into the second episode or the second half of this premiere, this is where everything is just so much better. I mean, everything's just, I don't know what it is. Like, I felt there's some things about Star Wars shows recently, all of them. I've enjoyed most of the Star Wars shows. We talked about it. They have like kind of good starts, as with Ahsoka, and kind of like, I'm not sure how it went. And then kind of like with Mandalorian as well, it's kind of had some hits and misses in there. Book of Boba Fett, same thing. And then Acolyte has some great moments throughout. These are very, very different shows. There's something about this one where I have not once thought about the filmmaking of this. I've not once thought about how they're doing it or what's going on. Like, I'm just along for the ride. So as soon as that ship takes off, like, I'm in it, I'm there with these kids, just like, what is going on? Smee shows up, does his whole thing. So amazing. I recognized Nick Frost's voice like immediately, and I was like, this is great. I love this robot. The character got the most piratey character, of course, Peg Leg, because he's missing a foot and obviously missing an eye, so he's got quote unquote eye patch as well. So very piratey. What kind of droid is he? Clearly got some like fighting. I think he was like a fighting droid. It looks like he was like a gladiator droid. Interesting, because he gets like a really cool fight scene. He actually holds his own. I was really surprised. This is as much as he's based off of a Shmi-like character, or I guess you could say like a little bit like Long John Silver. He's got some fight in him, and he can hold his own. And there's some interesting smarts, what the droid knows and doesn't know, and what you can't. There's some really old programming with this one. It feels like he was programmed with these pirate rules, and he has to stick with them. And because when someone says like, "I killed your captain, so I'm the captain now," I guess that makes sense to him. There's no programming that says it doesn't, so why not? And I love that. I love this droid. Nick Frost is a great addition to this. I hope he was on set and not just doing the voice. I'm sure we'll get some behind the scenes. This droid, as with everything, including Neil, there's a mix of practical and CGI going on here, but the seams are not there. I'm sure there's a mix of volume stuff going on in all these scenes as well, and I do not see it. Either they've abandoned it in a way that they are going back to like what works, or they've finally mastered the volume. Everything here, VFX wise, CGI wise, is just working out so well. The practical and CGI mix is I feel like seamless, and I'm behind it. Like it helps me stay immersed. And even if it's not, even if you know it's CGI or whatever, it does, like the way it moves or the way the story is being told, like that's the thing. Is like I don't pay attention to it whatsoever. I'm just here for it. The ship is really cool. Though it has some elements of like an actual pirate ship that's like, does it need to be there? I want to get into theory stuff later on about why it's there, how long it's been there, but like I guess this really doesn't matter. It just is, you know. It has this whole self-destruct button that they shouldn't press. Like, of course, you know, it's gonna be pressed, right? It's by the end of this series, they're gonna press a button. I love, side note, there's a small little moment when they enter the ship and they're exploring and trying to figure out how to get the hatch open. And Wim is like, we need to go up. And KB's like, nope, the conduit goes down, so we're going down. And it makes sense. She's a smart one or whatever. But he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. Something I will note, I don't know if we are ever supposed to get that, even though clearly he wants to be a Jedi, he wants to be a Jedi Knight. I don't know if we're supposed to get that he has some sort of force sensitivity. We haven't been shown that he has, maybe some instincts or whatever, you know? But even when he's wrong, he's not wrong. Now, because the ship was upside down, if you're not understanding that. Now, he does press a button that he shouldn't have. The moment before he presses that button, golden. Loved it. This actor, Wim, you're doing great. That look, that was it. That sold everything for me. It's so natural, so funny, so I can't even, what was it? He's like, he started, he hesitated, then he went to go press it. Great. Love it. No notes. What do we say? What do we say about the fact? No, is this theory corner stuff? Let's just say ship was upside down, takes off. We'll get into that. It was in hibernation mode. There were people there and they killed each other. How long have those skeletons been there? We don't know. It was on autopilot and just took off. Where was it taking off to? Questions to have, questions we should ponder, questions of where do they want to go? What's going on? But all it does is serve to get our kids lost. They don't know where home is, or they do, but the droid doesn't. And that's where we get our first hint that something is going on. I feel like I should be saying more about the kids and the reactions and stuff, but like I just it's so much fun. Like they're having fun. It's so much fun. Fern's way of tricking the droid, like love it. And then they go to Port something, Tortuga, a pirate wasteland or pirate cove, pirate. What do they call it? What was Tortuga called? What was it was a refuge. It's an asteroid. When they're going through the ships, some of them broken, some of them was clearly working. They're all kind of like hooked up or whatever. Amazing VFX artists. Whoever was in control of that imagery, whether it was a concept artist, or the visual effects supervisors, or just an individual artist, that like the way that it like feels like you're coming into a pirate port, it like as if the asteroid itself is a ship and all the ships are part of the asteroid in this weird amalgamation of things. Like, great, good on you. Great job. Amazing. Have to use the ferry. Apparently some creature from some other thing we haven't seen before. Also, like, if you listen to Star Wars Explained, that this asteroid might be an homage to another very well-known asteroid kind of port that was also home to a bunch of undesirables and convicts and villains and pirates or whatever. But this has been, whether or not it is the same thing or just an homage to the expanded universe, this is great. I love when the expanded universe come in. I didn't know much about it, but hey, again, you got pirates like in my Star. Why not? Why not? I say. All the stuff on the asteroid, lots of fun. Neil shut his trunk up, and Neil being like, I don't speak out of my trunk. Super funny. I love that these kids hit back. There's something very three-dimensional about this. Four-dimensional, even. They are very well-rounded. They don't just play one note or just hit that one note the whole time. They very much hit multiple things, and I feel like that's what I love about these kids. I'm sure there are Easter eggs galore in this whole sequence. We've already talked about the credits. We know that the credits are not good. We know that they learn more that their planet is like a myth. The planet of gold, planet of riches. The planet is riches. Yeah. So Smee has this really good fight scene. I think again, should be taken note of. Smee is a broken droid and seen a lot of shit. I think it's noticeable that he can hold his own, that he knows what he's doing, that he's very capable. And especially being able to like take out so many people at once. You don't just leave Smee on a ship. He wasn't broken. He wasn't destroyed. He seemed to be, as the ship before, in some sort of hibernation mode. And I don't think that's an accident. I think that whatever he is, if he wanted to be there or didn't want to be there, I think he was tricked. And I think that's important to take note of, that Smee, probably a very loyal crew member, obviously, but had to be shut down for some reason. Otherwise, what would he's very dangerous, We'll get to that later, but I think just something worth noting, not something to just overlook, but also very good just fight scene. All the fight scenes in the past, I would say that the first one with the taking of the ship, Captain Silva's gang, whatever that ship was, but they were looking for credits in the hull and whatever. Really good, again, action scene. Really well told. You kind of get an understanding of like what's going on, all the players and whatever, and who to look out for. I don't think there's much more to say about that. We'll talk about Silva later. I'm sure you're waiting for me to say it, but it's not. It's very A New Hope. I love the. Here's what I'll say. Very A New Hope. Clearly trying to get you in that little mindset. Does some new things. A lot of fun. Nothing amazing. I will say maybe it's just because I'm writing my own sci-fi story and I wanted to use this cable, grappling hook thing to traverse it's they did it here and I'm like, yes, that's what I wanted to do and it's great and I love it and I love that. I love them doing new things, everything there was like you have the New Hope imagery style and then but you add a lot of new things to it, which is great. And you get to see some of these like great creature alien effects, especially the ones that like feel like they can't jumped right out of Mos Eisley Cantina. Again, showing that these are the bad guys, the pirates, so to speak. Loved it. I will say the only problem I had, this is very nitpicky, but if you know me, I have a question about, do blasters need to cock? That's a weird thing to say. But in the subtitles, whenever they're waiting for the pirates to enter, it says like blasters cocks and you can hear a sound. And I'm like, they're lasers? They're lasers? They're not, I mean, I guess you could have projectiles in some of these, but they're lasers. And do they need to cock? Why do you need a cocking mechanism? Have we seen things cock before? I guess there's a thing with shows and movies where they do stupid things and they make cocking sounds for regular guns, much less blasters, that they don't need to do. And it's a really big pet peeve of mine. It's like, why did your gun cock just then? You shouldn't have, especially nowadays, we don't have hammers on any, it's a whole thing. And even more so here, I'm like, how do these blasters work that they need to, is it just, they're just, I don't know. It's nitpicky. I know that's my only problem with something. I feel like, someone else tell me, have we seen blasters cock before? I don't know that we have, not in that manner. I'm sure sniper rifle or something. You know what? Let's move on. Kids go to jail. Smee gets taken. Kids try and make a plan. Now they're stuck, but they don't know what to do. And who shows up but Jude Law? Of course, we saw him in the trailers. He's here. And he's got some powers. He's got some Jedi powers here. And which really makes Wim perk up. Guys, I love it. Jude Law, he's having fun. He had so much fun on Peter Pan or Wendy. I'm sorry. I know how much fun Jude Law has with these things. You are not. There is absolutely 0% chance that he is Force sensitive, that he is a Jedi. I do not believe it. And there is so much. There's so much Treasure Island stuff going on here with Wim and him, where, of course, like he believes it's one thing, but it's not, he doesn't realize this. They want you to believe first and foremost that this is Captain Silvo. I said this on Twitter when we first saw the trailers. I was like, there's no reason you want me to believe that Jude Law is some Jedi. Clearly he's the captain of whatever pirates are chasing them. This is, yeah. I don't think he's a Jedi. I don't think he's a Force user. How did he do that trick? I don't know. Probably magnets. Whatever his plan is, I don't know. I don't understand the end game. Treasure being one of those, sure. I might have more theories later, but right now I just know that he is not who he says he is, and that's clear. And the thing is, I do not think that the creators of the show are trying to hide that. I think you are supposed to doubt him in some way. And I think they want you to believe that he is Captain Silvo. I mean, from the very beginning, Captain Silvo, hiding his face, same accent. Got that Jude Law swagger, whatever. I mean, there's not. I actually thought they were going to reveal him at the very beginning of the episode, so we wouldn't be guessing. Because why? Because why would we? Because clearly it's him. He's Captain Silvo. Here's the thing, and this is where I'm going to go off the rails a little bit. I now believe, because they are being so secretive about it, that they are not giving you exactly what is going on here with Mr. Jude. The name is Jod. I don't know. Whatever is going on with him, they're not trying to hide it. I think they want you to think that he is Captain Silvo. And I think if they want you to think that, and anytime I feel like I have a theory and then they kind of confirm it and they are very much pointing an arrow at it, immediately I'm like, that's a red herring. It's a red herring. Something else is going on. Maybe he is Force sensitive. Maybe he's not a Jedi, but maybe something else. But then why was he in this jail for so long? Why was he waiting? You know, he's been here for a while. But what is it? Is it because he couldn't escape? What is going on here? So again, I don't think he's Force sensitive. If he could have done that, he could have done that way before. Something has changed, and what has changed is Smee has showed up. I don't know what that means. Maybe next episode we'll get some hints. We'll return to this, whether or not he's Force sensitive, whether or not we'll see. Does he even do anything else? It'd be interesting to see if he is Force sensitive, but also maybe just a pirate. But I don't think he is Captain Silvo. Instead, here's what I'm going to say. This is my harebrained theory, my scheme. I want you to go back to not just the first fight or whatever. I want you to go back to the ship and let's think about it. Let's think about the ship. How did the ship end up on a planet with barriers? No one could come and go. Clearly, the ship has been here for a long time and it's been in hibernation mode. How long has it been? Was it buried there? Or did it bury itself whenever it crash landed? What point? Why did no one find it before? What is going? Well, these surveillance droids are pretty bad at the job. Here's the thing. If you give me a red herring, you give me a ship that's been there, and you give me a mystery, and you try and tell me one thing, but clearly something else is going on, I'm going to be looking for the clues elsewhere. And so I have to imagine that ship didn't just get there. I think we're led to believe that the pirates on that ship, the two that killed each other, accidentally killed each other, and then maybe the ship crash landed. But that doesn't explain the hibernation mode or Smee. That doesn't explain how the ship was still like in that good condition, but just kind of shut off. Someone had to have done that, and I do not think it was Smee. And so Who else could it be? Are we supposed to believe it's Jude Law, Captain Silvo? And why did he leave his ship? What if he got to the planet? Why is he trying to go back and he knows what's there? What is the point? And so you're telling me there has to be another explanation, and that someone else landed that ship or crash landed that ship and found this planet. And I think the real Captain Silvo is Wim's father, Wendell. And I know that sounds crazy, and I want you to hear me out. It's probably the stupidest theory you've ever heard, and I know you hate it. But hear me out. We see two human adults at all, besides the pirates and whatever. We only see two adults on that planet. And I don't think it's this ambassador lady. Wendell's our only clue. Wendell's the only possible explanation as to like why that ship is there and who could have shut it off and who could have put it in hibernation mode. And I can imagine that he did. He is Captain Silvo searching for the ultimate treasure and stumbles upon the planet of myth, of legend, and finds out that it's nothing. But I think he did find a treasure. And I think the treasure that he found was love. Where is that love now? I don't know, but there's clearly a missing or dead mother. And I feel like a person that found the ultimate treasure in love and had a child and has resigned himself to a life to raise that child in a place where nothing else can touch him. There is no indication. He doesn't seem that surprised about this ship, but also there's no indication that he's like scared of it. I don't know what's going on there. They don't give you much. They don't really give you very much. And that's why this is a harebrained theory. But at the same time, I have to believe that ship had to have been driven there, had to have been shut down, put into hibernation mode, as well as a droid, and left there so that no one else could find this planet. I believe that Wendell knows what's going on, because if it's not Wendell, then who else? Because we haven't seen anyone else. You have to have shown me an adult, if not Wendell, that this could be. You know, you can't just reveal it later on that it's no one. So I think that this is the real Captain Silvo. I think he's putting on an act. He's been putting on an act for years. The only thing that made me think that this is not true whatsoever is that maybe the ship and Captain Silvo are not connected at all, because that ship could have been there a lot longer than I know. Maybe it's been there for like hundreds of years, since the time of the Acolyte. But I don't know. I don't know if it's a ship, because the ship's clearly been there a long time. That droid, I don't know if it doesn't come from the Empire era, so I don't know. Or does it come from the Empire? I guess it has some Empire-esque things, but clearly a modified gladiator droid of some sort. I just don't know, right? But that's my harebrained theory. I think they want you to believe that Jude Law is Captain Silvo, but I think Captain Silvo is actually Wendell, Wim's father. And I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to stick with that theory until someone runs me through, or I walk the plank, or whatever. We're going to get a plank reference at some point for sure. There's too many people getting thrown out of airlocks for one of these kids not to have a walk the plank moment, a la Captain Hook. Okay. Man, that's my theories. I think pretty much that one theory kind of covers like everything else. That something else is going on this planet. We don't know, but there's clearly not some treasure, but whatever treasure he did find was love and acceptance and protection and whatever. And I just, how this connects though to the greater thing, how that planet connects and what they're really going to discover, I don't know. But we know it's not treasure. So what's going on here? Wim being a son of a pirate legend, but not knowing it. Of course, that would be a lot of fun. Of course, he's going to freak the heck out, you know? We don't get a sense that he thinks his dad is boring, but you know, some shorthand, maybe there's some shorthand things there, you know? But yeah, I'm having fun. With this new adventure. I want to keep talking about it. I want to keep coming back to it. You know, we didn't really deep dive into this, but you know, it's funny. I'm doing this alone. I'm just kind of going through it and just trying to figure it out. And I wanted to talk to someone about it. So I'm wondering if you are enjoying Skeleton Crew as well. I'm wondering if you caught any of the things I caught, or tell me more. Tell me more of what I didn't catch. Tell me more of what I'm missing here. I want to talk more about these characters and what's going on with them. But for now, there's clearly a mystery, and we got to solve that. And tell me what you think about my theories, and tell me what you think about of your own theories. What do you have? Do we think Jod is a Jedi? Do we think he's Captain Silva? Do we think he's both or not, or a mix of something? I don't know. Who does Smee belong to? Who was the real captain? You know, that's a question. Was it Captain Silva that crash landed? There's no coincidence. We're gonna get back. He's gonna have to come back into play at some point. Are you enjoying this? Is this a little bit too much of the same thing? Stuff we've seen before is too much Treasure Island. I don't know. I say fine. You know, I'm sure there's some people that are mad because like we had Treasure Planet. We've done Treasure Planet. Why are we doing it again? And yeah, it was pretty much the same thing, but it's a little different. Now we have Star Wars, I guess. So I can't wait. So glad David Lowery got to do one. I can't wait for the Daniels episode because I'm sure that's going to be off the walls. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of this episode if you want to keep talking about it. If you're here, you're here. If you're not, you're not. Again, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm doing with this. If I'm gonna I'm gonna record it, and then I'm gonna maybe edit it, and then maybe put it online. I haven't really decided. Yet if I'm actually gonna release this. But if you're listening to it, I have. So let me know what you think. codependentcontent@gmail.com. Again, this has been an episode of Codependent Content, where we talk about the content in which we have an unhealthy relationship. And right now, that is Skeleton Crew. Until next week, talk to you later.